One world currency.
The New World Order.
Those are the roots of trouble.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of election, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from federaljack.com. It's Popeye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's live edition. It is April 17th, 2013. And tonight I'm going to be going over, again, the Boston bombing, certain aspects of it, and I'm going to cover a few other things, but there's a few things I didn't get a chance to get into last night because I focused more on how the media was addressing things, and I focused on trying to get the information out about what fallacies are, and three of the most commonly used ones, although there are way more than what I played the audio for and tried to explain last night. And again, I urge everybody to go do the research themselves. But coming up on the other side of the first segment here, because it's a quick segment, when we come back from break, I'm going to have a guest on with me for a while. Luckily, doing 5 days a week, it affords me a little more time. So if I don't get to something one night, I can get to it the next night. Unless, of course, it's Friday, then you have to wait till Monday. But I digress. Anyway, coming back on the other side of the break, I'm going to get Dr. Pujo's opinion on things. It's interesting, very interesting what I see going on. Like I said, the powers that shouldn't be, they learn, ladies and gentlemen. And this is this one's a bit different than any of the other ones. Kind of using a couple different playbooks from a couple different past events. We shall see. We're going to break. Stay tuned. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. I'm going to bring my guest up right away. Dr. Pujo, welcome to the broadcast. First and foremost, I want to welcome you to the new format here at Unbound Radio. Since the last time you were on, it's been a while. But I want to get past all the niceties really quick because you and I have been chatting back and forth for days. I mean, well, we always chat, but you and I have been chatting back and forth, nonstop pretty much since this has been going on. And you've been giving me on the ground reports from the sense of the locals there in the area. First off, just for the listeners so they understand why I would go to you, how far exactly, explain that you're close, you're in close proximity, the local area, blah 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 blah, and then I want to get into what the locals feel. So first of all, how far are you from Boston itself?
Well, glad to be here on the new Unbound Radio, and we're about 20 miles north of Boston. So, grew up in the area, born and raised here, grew up here, went to dental school in Boston, lived in Boston for 4 years. So, And like I said, right now I live about 20 miles north of Boston. So
Right. So you are, again, one of the most perfect people, someone I already know and trust who's up there. Why go to someone who I don't know or don't trust, right? I'd rather go to somebody who I trust. So initially you weren't sure, and I remember chatting with you a couple days ago and you weren't sure. And again, I don't know. We don't have, we have some evidence now, but we don't have, enough to say conclusively, yes, that it's a false flag, right? But it reeks of it. It's got all the indicators all across the board. There's a lot of benefits that they would gain from pulling this off, something this horrific. And it's not like they haven't done this before. But a few days ago, you weren't sure.
that's right.
Even, you were kind of, I don't know, Popeye. 2-3 days later, what do you think? You're a local. First, let me get what you think, and then I want you to get into, and I'll just give you the floor and let you talk. Tell me how you think now, a couple days later, and then get into what the feeling locally is. If there's chatter, if there's a false flag, or if people are buying that it's some kooky guy, or whatever the chatter is, lay it out.
Well, let's see. My personal opinion, it did go from, it was more hoping that it wasn't a false flag. Obviously we don't want anything like this to ever happen. It's disgusting, it's horrible, and we never want to see this kind of thing happen. But since it did happen, with all the discussion of demonizing patriots and demonizing the liberty movement, if it's something's going to have to happen, my thoughts on Monday were, well, at least let this be organic instead of some sort of false flag. Well, after all the mounting evidence has been coming out, and I'm sure a lot of people saw that photographic evidence today, we can safely say there's something more afoot here than an organic attack. I think we can go and safely put that out there and declare that this is more than just one or two lone nuts. As far as around here, Massachusetts is, shall we say, a very trusting community and loves its mainstream media. So, nobody's going to, even if people are inkling or have an inkling that there might be something more than this, very few people would ever talk about their thoughts on this subject. Most people are going to go along with the mainstream story and be happy with it. So, unless these photos blow wide open on mainstream media, nobody's going to question this. Right now, there's a relative in a sort of a Facebook debate right now. The relatives basically questioned the press conference with Obama this afternoon after losing the gun control bills in the Senate. And his comment was something to the effect of, is this really presidential commentary? And there's a raging debate about, all the Obama supporters going after my relative, and, it's definitely Obama country up here. But,
is there any, have you heard any talk at all of people saying, well, maybe the government could have done this? I mean,
oh no,
none at all.
No, those discussions don't happen up here. I've said to my wife several times that if and when the Second American Revolution kicks off, it's not going to come from Massachusetts. It's just the mindset just is not ready for a lot of this up here.
They're all drinking the Kool-Aid still.
Yeah, they don't have the, I think I've said it before, there just hasn't been, the media exposure for people to this kind of information, and a lot of them just aren't going to be ready to handle it. So
yeah, and I think it would. I mean, it's not easy to handle. Look, when you first find this out, it makes you sick to your stomach and everything else. So
yeah. I mean, nobody. That's the thing with the, all these sites that demonize conspiracy theory. What they don't get is that none of us want to be right about any of this stuff. None of us enjoy this, that we know all this information, and we also have to speculate on some of it because we don't have all the facts because we're not on the inside. But that's the part that you just don't understand, and it drives me. it just makes me a little irritated.
I know what you mean. It's not like we get off on being right when we say that they're going to do, things like this, stage events, and it's to the point now where how many people across the independent media have come out now and said flat out, look for stage events, keep your eyes out. How many ex-insiders or ex-intel or military officials have come out and said, nope, they're going to stage false flag events. And then when it happens, people are still, oh, my God, I can't believe it. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Just pay attention to what people are telling you. They're trying to tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of full ignorance out there, too, I would say.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, on a more mainstream level, I did see one interesting article today where that poor 8-year-old boy that died in the explosion, I guess his uncle is one of the heads of the Massachusetts Tea Party organization. So he's pretty ticked off that the media has been hinting that, this could be right-wing extremists, So there's that out there, but that's about as far, I think, as things go in the mainstream media.
What are they saying locally, like on the local media? Because I remember when I was talking to you the other day, we were chatting while we were both watching the live stream, and you're like, I'm so sorry for these embarrassing morons that are, on here talking. And, like I said, I pointed out the other night, they shouldn't have had that one anchor on, the one that was down there. Mm-hmm. They shouldn't have had her on because she wasn't giving any type of objective reporting. She had just been through the bomb.
Right. But they're making her out to be, something. Look at the great job she did because she was there and they got her over to the studio. So that's kind of how they spun that. But that was a good thing. But as far as I really didn't hear anything. I didn't really listen to anything today or yet last night. I have a hard time listening to the mainstream media around here. So I'll have to spend some time maybe tomorrow checking it out and see what the updates are and see what the information is. But they're all. I did hear one little thing. They are all scratching their heads over, of course, the announcements that they had a suspect in custody, and then the FBI saying no, we don't. They're all trying to figure that one out.
Well, let me ask you this: who initially came out and said that they had a suspect in custody?
Wasn't it CNN today?
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, who was what law enforcement agency? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, it's more of a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It obviously there's the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. See, this is really interesting. That's why I say, like, and somebody asked me the other day. They said, "Well, how do you know it's a false flag, Popeye? Come on." And I said, "Well, I don't know for 100% sure, but even if it wasn't see, the problem is the term false flag." You have to define what it really is. People think nowadays, because it's been overused, right, that false flag is actually getting misused like the term conspiracy is. So false flag now in people's heads sometimes equates video fakery and things like that. It's not video fakery. I mean, it could involve that as like a level of the false flag event, but a false flag doesn't mean that, it didn't happen at all and the bomb didn't go off. No, quite contraire. Look at 9/11. They killed like over 3,000 people, plus all the people that have died in 12 years since 9/11. So they don't have a problem with killing innocent people in a false flag. It's not like it didn't happen. Right. And that's the way the mainstream media is trying to push it. Down here we have a local host. I chastised him yesterday on air. We have a local host who tried to push that if the term false flag means like it didn't happen, like fake the moon landings type.
Mm-hmm. But that's not what it means. Yeah.
Of course not. But people don't understand the lexicon. You know what I mean, Doc? So if they don't understand the lexicon, they don't understand the terminology. They can easily be, they can easily be led down the wrong path and controlled like a sheep. Right.
And it really amazes me that I'll put this little story out there. It really amazes me that people can't, think that the powers that be would pull this stuff when. Individuals pull stuff like this. I'll throw a couple cases out there that happened locally over the years. One more recent, there was a big scam going on in the city of Lawrence, which is pretty close to me. And they were running a car accident scam where they would have a group of people get into a car accident on purpose, and then they'd all go to the same chiropractor. Chiropractor would sign off on disabilities and this and that and the other thing, and they would collect on the insurance money, and they'd split it all amongst themselves, and it became this major major operation, and until it was finally busted wide open. But this is just a group of people figuring out how to scam the system and how to try to rig the game in their favor. Another one from when I was a kid, there was a Greek family on the North Shore of Massachusetts that would go around and open up a roast beef place. And 6 months later, the roast beef place would burn down. And they did this about, I don't know, I'd have to go back and look. They did this several times. Neighbor of mine, when I was a kid, down the street, lost his barbershop in one of these fires. And it kept going on until they burned down a quarter of the center of Danvers, Massachusetts. So, and then they finally got caught. So people do this kind of stuff, on a small level to try to rig the game in their favor. What makes people think that the ultra real wealthy aren't going to do the same thing on a grand scale to keep themselves in power?
Well said. Good point. I always like to show smaller local examples because sometimes it's easier for people to accept or comprehend. Mm-hmm. And that's a good point. If you have local level scumbags that do the same type of thing, what makes you think the scumbags in the upper echelon of power aren't going to do the same thing? You know what I mean?
Exactly. So
unbelievable what goes on. It's let me because we're going to break in about we got about a minute before we start coming up on the break. But
okay.
Is it? I know after an event, and we can get into this further on the other side. But I know after an event, there's usually martial law, even to a small degree in certain areas. I've experienced it myself. But are there troops in mass, like National Guard in mass, all over doing ID checks and stuff right now, or just in that area?
Just in that area that I know of. National Guard down there. I guess they have about 15 blocks cordoned off. Which is a reduction in size from yesterday for the crime scene. But, of course, President Obama will be coming into town tomorrow, too. So, so that's going to really mess things up. And if you have to come into Boston, skip it.
If you have to come into Boston, don't.
Yeah, wait a day or two, especially if you have to drive. So, anyway.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. I didn't know that the crime scene was shrinking, but, again...
Local cities have sent police forces into Boston. Methuen has cops.
Oh, they have?
Yeah.
I'm getting an update from my wife.
Ooh,
I guess a lot of the local towns have sent police into Boston to help out, too.
Oh, well, all that makes sense. That in an event like this, that all makes sense. It's the mutual aid. It's something that you would expect. That's nothing to scream and yell, oh, my God, martial law about. But that's why I wanted to ask you if they were doing just the ID checks locally or if they had expanded them to the entire city. But in that crime scene area and locally, it does make sense. All right, I'm going to cut us off, Doc, because we got the break coming up. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We will be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. So, Doc, I've got you for a brief, short time here, so I want to pick your brain and give you as much time as I possibly can.
Okay.
You're seeing these pics. I know you and I have been chatting back and forth. You're seeing these pics coming out now where you see special ops guys of some sort, whether they're actually operatives that were willingly taking part, or if it was another drill gone live, which they're known for doing. What's your take? Like I said, 2 days ago, not only are you a local, but 2 days ago you were like, now your view is completely different. And I think from what I gathered, the pics actually had a large part in solidifying your viewpoint on it. So what say you on what's come out?
Yeah, that put it over the top for me. There's definitely more here than meets the eye as far as, this is not an organic event. There's something else going on here. As far as who these guys are on those pics that came out off of 4chan today, it's too tough to call. Those could be, who knows, those could be SEAL, those could be guys dressed up like SEAL, those could be before the wrap-up of another program tonight, they were saying, one guy was thinking it could be actually Chris Kyle's group, Craft International. Who knows? We don't know what's going on here, definitely, but we at least don't know that there's more to this than meets the eye. Yeah, it could have just been, who knows, most of those guys could have just been running a drill. It could have been running a practice scenario. And, running drills, hey, how else are you going to practice stuff? that's the catch-22 with these situations is the guys actually do need to train, but then they turn around and use it for something like this, or who knows? They could have all been in on it. We don't know. We have no idea, and hopefully we will find out the truth at some point. Yeah,
I agree. The whole mercenary thing or whatever they were, special ops guys. To me, they look more like. I mean, they could be SEALs, but to me, they look more like mercs. And who knows? Maybe they could be from Chris Kyle's group, his organization, whatever his company. I mean, maybe that's why he was shot. Anybody ever think of that? Maybe that's why they got this guy. They could have had this guy, the guy that whacked them, do it for whatever reason. Take him and his best friend out there on the golf course that day, or the shooting range, whatever it was. I think it was a shooting range.
Yeah, it was a range. Yeah,
and that's it. Done.
Yeah, and I'm surprised.
Maybe he knew something he shouldn't have known. Maybe he said no. Maybe he said I refuse to take part in that, and then he gets whacked. Who knows? It could be. But I would say it's probably if they were black operators. To be quite honest with you, the black ops guys like Delta and stuff that would have pulled this off, because they wouldn't have had SEALs openly pull off a false flag operation like that. They would have had a different group, perhaps Delta or even higher, pull something like that off. But unless there was a drill that went live and they were unwilling participants. But to me, it would be more like mercenaries. Yeah, and I don't think any black ops guys that are really as good that would pull this type of stuff off would allow themselves to get picked up on all of those cameras. They would have got that there way before, ahead of time. They would have staked out the regular cameras, and then they would have double checked it with what the police were going to put up as a security perimeter, and they would have known. So they wouldn't have allowed themselves to get caught on camera like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're never going to see the real black ops guys. This should be too good for that, right?
Exactly. You read my mind. Exactly. Doc, we got about a minute. Any closing thoughts?
Just keep up the fight and take a nice deep breath and pat yourselves on the back for the gun control bills going down in flames today. But don't let up tomorrow. Get back on it. Keep on these people. We got CISPA to worry about, and those gun control bills will be coming back at some point. So. But it was a good demonstration today that, getting out there and speaking your mind and getting in touch with these people can make a difference. We can affect change.
Awesome. Well said, Doc. I agree. People need to keep their eye on the ball. Don't think that, it's a good win, but don't think that it's, we're not out of the park yet. We're not out of the woods, yet, as it were. And exactly. I'm going to have to get you back on again, Doc, to talk about fluoride now that I'm on over here at Unbound. I need to have you on. We could do another fluoride.
Sure.
You like an updated broadcast from the last time you were on. So I'll get with you about that off air. Don't hang up. I'll say goodbye to you, off air. But again, I got to thank you so much for coming on last minute and giving me your take locally, what's going on, and if there's anybody even talking about it, or if they're just kind of in a daze, which I would expect from the shock of what's going on. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We're going to break. We'll be back in a few short minutes. Again, thanks, Doc. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Popeye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. I want to give a big shout-out to Dr. Jason Pujo. Thank you, Doc, for coming on. Last minute, I wanted to pick his brain for a few minutes, and literally, it was last minute. It was about 5 minutes before I was going live, and I had wanted to actually hit him up earlier and see if he could come on for a couple segments, but I actually hit him up, maybe literally 5-10 minutes before I was going live, and he graciously took a half hour out of his already busy day to come on the air and just, let me pick his brain for a few minutes. So it doesn't surprise me a lot of stuff, what I heard. That's why I wanted to ask him about, the martial law scenario and get a reality situation on it, not try to freak anybody out. Oh, my God, troops on the streets. Well, that actually happens after a situation like that. And if it's National Guard, well, that's par for the course. I mean, it is what it is, and that's what the National Guard's actually supposed to be done, and they get called up by the governor, blah, 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 blah. So, and if they were in that area around the bombing, doing ID checks, I could understand it, because that would be standard operating procedure. I've seen it before in other emergencies and events and things like that. So, as long as they weren't doing it citywide and requiring an ID to go to the bakery, 3 miles away or 4 miles away, then it's not complete and utter, takeover of everybody's civil liberties and stuff. And in a situation like that, you do want to check people's IDs around a crime scene like that, because much like with an arsonist, sometimes the perpetrator comes back and likes to hang out in the crowd and see things, perhaps even offer their assistance. Maybe, I'm a witness, I saw something. So if you can check IDs, and then people say one of the National Guardsmen recognizes, say something happens, and they say, well, do you recognize this guy? And they have a picture of a suspect. They say, hey, yeah, we just checked his ID. Actually, he's been down here 2 days in a row. We saw him about an hour ago. That way. So I understand the reasoning behind some of what they do. You might not like it. You might not be comfortable with it. But in a situation like this, it is kind of standard operating procedure. Again, as long as they're not running around with goon squads kicking in doors and stuff and cordoning off the entire city, and putting up a wall around the place. Well, or like in the movie The Siege, where they literally had tanks and infantry on the street and active duty military. As long as they don't have the National Guard dressed up either in riot gear doing the same thing. So if they're doing, the kids that you saw the pictures of, they might have some level of arrogance on their face, but they're also 19 years old. You have to remember how these kids are used, and think back to when you were 19, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners are older, in their 30s, 40s, even older. And if you think back to when you were younger, you were cocky and stuff. That's why they go after 18-year-old kids to join the military. They don't go after guys in their late 30s like me, because I'd be giving them wind-up middle finger as they tried to lay out their spiel to me. Oh, join the military. We'll send you to college. You see, beautiful lands all over the place, right? Mm-hmm, sure. That's why they get young, impressionable kids. Anyway. I don't want to get too far off on a tangent on that. There's a few things I want to go over with the bombing tonight that, like I said, I didn't get a chance to get into yesterday. One of them being this whole Family Guy thing. Now, first I want to play the Family Guy episode, the audio, that supposedly pissed off so many people that they said there's no way that it could actually be real, and that it was obviously faked by InfoWars. And I know this is probably the first time you'll ever hear me say this, but for the, I can be critical of them at times, but I have to come to their defense in this and say they did not make this up, and this is not some InfoWars created internet hoax. These were two different clips from the same episode of Family Guy that aired a couple weeks ago that obviously were put together for the purpose of rendering the video and putting it up on the internet to show people. But they were not played back-to-back on the original episode, no, but they were two separate clips from the episode. And you all know, if you've ever seen the show, that they have, 5 or 6 second long clips where it's a quick flash. That's how they do those shows. There's also a reason they do that, but I'm not going to get into that tonight. Anyway, that has to do with mind control and subliminals and other things and playing with your subconscious, but we'll get into that and other broadcasts. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. Oh, yes, mind control is a big subject. Okay, anyway, let me play this really quick. So the first piece you're going to hear is Bob Costas ask him, and yes, it's Bob Costas' voice. He says, Peter, how did you win the Boston Marathon? And they're on whatever show. They're on like a little round table, and the image behind them on the TV is Peter in his family's red station wagon, and he's driven over, 20, 30 joggers in his wake, all behind him. And they are all literally laying on the ground bloody. There's blood all over the place. There's blood all over his car. And he's, I win, I win. So he asks him how he wins. And then later on in the episode, he was dressed up like I guess they were trying to dress him up like an Arab, but it looked more like African garb. But whatever. They were trying to, whatever, I guess, make him like a stereotype of a terrorist or whatever. And at the end, because I didn't see the whole episode, so I don't know. But at the end, in the second video clip, he's holding a phone, and he dials the phone, and you hear boom, and then he's like, oh, wrong number. And he dials the phone again, and you hear a second explosion and people yelling. So there's a thing called predictive programming. Okay, there are times where it's not predictive programming, and predictive programming is misidentified as being used. But in this case, this is blatant predictive programming to get you to accept what's coming. And then when this came out, of course, Seth MacFarlane, that's an internet hoax. And everybody's attacking InfoWars. And look, I call him out, and I call Jones out if I think he does something wrong all the time. Well, not all the time. I only do it when I feel it's warranted. I don't really waste my time on it. But I have called them out, okay? But I got to stand in their defense this time. Sorry. And people can get mad at me and call me whatever, but they didn't create an internet hoax with this. This is real. So, I mean, if they did do it, then I would call them to the carpet and say, oh, you guys made this up. You manipulated the video somehow. But how would they manipulate the Family Guy video? Seth MacFarlane's crew are the only ones that make the video, and whoever airs it, whether it's still Adult Swim or Fox or whoever airs it, right? They're the only ones that have the master. So InfoWars couldn't get it and go in there and manipulate it. I don't care how good their video graphics guys are, which they are pretty good, but it doesn't matter. They couldn't have done that. So it's like a straw man argument. They're blaming them. Oh, it's a hoax and you have to attack them. No, it's not a hoax. And I want to play you the audio really quick. So it's fast, so I'm going to repeat it twice. And I'll let you know. I'll play it, and then I'll tell you that when I'm going to repeat it twice. But here it is. It's 13 seconds. Listen closely. Well, if Flash Player would work and come up when I actually ask it to, we'll see if I can get it to go again. Hold on.
I'm Bob Costas, here with Boston Marathon winner Peter Griffin. Peter, how did you do it?
Damn phone's busted. Maybe I dialed wrong.
Now, when he says, how did you do it, that's a separate clip than when you hear him dial up the phone and you hear the two bombs go off. Okay, yes, they were put together, but they're not from two different episodes. They're from the same episode, from the exact same episode. They were just not aired back to back in the episode. That's all. So there is no fraudulent fraud going on. Listen again.
I'm Bob Costas, here with Boston Marathon winner Peter Griffin. Peter, how did you do it?
Damn phone's busted. Maybe I dialed wrong.
That is not internet fakery. That is not InfoWars making that up. Again, there are two separate clips. After Bob Costas asks him how he does it, it cuts to the second clip. Okay, but if you see the actual video in the background, you see the car, blood all over the place, the runners all, destroyed and run over, okay? And people actually attacked InfoWars for pointing this out, and they attacked them like they were saying, this is with the fake appeal to emotion garbage. Oh, how dare they? I love that. How dare they? Like Bill Clinton's 9/11 was an inside job. How dare you? Ugh, would have spit in his face. Anyway, they go on that appeal to emotion. How dare you? How dare you say that? Seth MacFarlane comes out. It's a horrific internet hoax. No, it's from your video. From your episode, and now that episode is being pulled. So if it was an internet hoax that was created by a website just to get hits to their website, right, and some radio show host just to get hits and listens to his radio show, then why would the people that created it pull the very episode that they said it came from? Unless it wasn't fake and it really did happen and that they're lying to you, okay, which is what's going on. Now, by the way, who's the real scumbag in this? Let me ask you this. Let me pose this thought to you really quick. Who's the bigger scumbag? Okay? Who's the bigger scumbag in this scenario? Paul Joseph Watson and Alex Jones and InfoWars for pointing this out, that there's this weirdness that this happened in this video? Or the people that actually made a video 3 or 4 months probably prior, but the people that made a video where it's a gag that the main character in the video ran over marathon runners and killed them. So who's more despicable? The person that points out and says this is creepy and this only aired 3-4 weeks ago. That's really creepy. That's in there. What's that about? Is that wrong? Or is it more wrong morally, right? And I'm doing air quotes when I say morally, that the person actually, like the people that created Family Guy, think it's funny to joke around about people getting run over by cars and blood and guts and gore and driving over people? So what's more despicable? The people that think that that kind of humor is funny? And by the way, you know, I've seen Family Guy myself. Yes, I laugh at some stuff, and I have a sick sense of humor. But do I think that kids should be watching this type of stuff? No. It screws them up morally as adults. Their brains are still developing. But then again, that goes back to what I was talking about mind control and about subliminals. And about why, you know, some of these clips are 6-7 seconds long a piece. They know what they're doing, okay? Predictive programming. Well, Popeye, what's that? Why would they tell you what they're doing? Well, let me explain something about predictive programming, because that's the one thing people never seem to get about why they would, you know, why would they tell you? They can't comprehend that why anybody would tell you what they plan on doing. They would just do it, right? Well, maybe that's you. But you don't also understand the way the universe works the way these people do. Remember, they're into the occult. The occult literally means the word hidden. Okay? So, if you understand things the way they do, there's a thing called karmic debt. They don't want to bear it. Hence why they have 18-year-old kids go and fight wars for them and bear the physical karmic debt. But if they are going to do something like a false flag event, and this is not me making this up, this is their belief. I'm not saying, again, there are certain universal laws or whatever, and I'm not saying if I know this to be 100% correct that it's true that they have to do this, but this is what they believe. Okay, in my research, I have come across this many, many times, and there is the theory, whatever you want to call it, that in the way one of the universal laws works is they can do whatever they want to us, but they kind of have to tell us what they're going to do to us, right? So if they let us know in advance and none of us do anything, because even by law standards, silence is consent, right? So what's to say that the universal law wouldn't be the same way? So if we're told what they're going to do to us and we're silent and we don't do anything to stop it, well, then there's no bad karma on them because, hey, they told us and we just sat around like a bunch of dumb lemmings, so we deserve what we got. Understand now? That's why they tell you they're going to do stuff, but they put it in a movie. See, it's kind of like a gray area, right? Like a loophole, if you will. They found a legal loophole, if you will, in a universal law. So they tell you via movies and via television. And then when people think it's entertainment, well, hey, the universe really doesn't differentiate now, does it? So we need to pay attention to the predictive programming. And there's more to it, too. There's another aspect mind control-wise, but we're going to break. We'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. I want to play an interview really quick by Anthony Gucciardi, because this is going to back up audio that I've been playing for the past 2 days. Remember the audio I played 2 days in a row, yesterday and the day before? The University of Mobile coach said he saw bomb-sniffing dogs. Remember that? No. That's a conspiracy theory, they say. There was no pre-warning. They could never have known. See, which that would indicate, by the way. Even if they didn't control the whole thing, even if it really was a real quote-unquote terror attack, and they let it happen, that's still a false flag, because they're letting it happen, and then they can blame whoever, because they already have an eye on who the real culprit is. They can catch the real culprit and twist it, blame it, whatever. That person's not going to have any rights, not going to get any press coverage of, oh, I'm just a patsy, right? No, there is none of that anymore. So, anyway, let me play this interview with this University of Mobile coach, Anthony Gucciardi. He's a writer. He writes for, he's all over the place. He's got his own website. He's been on InfoWars, IntelliHub, Activist Post, just numerous other websites. Well, he interviewed this University of Mobile coach. So it's a couple minutes, but it's worth listening, because, again, it's not just this guy getting interviewed by the mainstream and you hearing it a third day in a row. Now it's a separate interview, and he reiterates exactly what he said. Listen.
All right, hi, this is Anthony Gucciardi. I'm here with Alastair Stevenson from Alabama. He was at the Boston Marathon. He was a veteran of other marathons. And before the race, he detailed a concerning statement that there was a lot of buildup of bomb squads and bomb-sniffing dogs and even rooftop shooters. And he says that it was so peculiar, he thinks that police must know that something was going on. So thanks a lot for joining me today. Tell me what's going on.
Just at the start of the event at the Athletes Village, there was police spotters, or there was people on the roof with binoculars looking down onto the Athletes Village at the start. There was dogs with their handlers going around sniffing for explosives, and we were told on a loud announcement that we shouldn't be concerned. This was just a drill. So maybe it was just a drill, but I've just never seen a drill like that at any major marathon that I've done. So that just concerned me that that's the only race that I've ever done in my life where I've seen, dogs sniffing for explosives, and that's the only race where there's ever been an explosion show. But like I said, it really could have just been a drill. That there is the possibility of that.
Sure, but you've done larger races in the past, and you haven't seen anything like that before.
Never seen anything like that. I've ran in the London Marathon, Marine Corps, Chicago, Disney, all the major marathons I've ran in, and I've never seen anything like that before.
And
so it just seems a coincidence to me, that's all.
Sure. But they announced over the broadcasting system that this is a training exercise. So they openly said, this is a training exercise, this is a drill. Because there's people out there that are saying that the drill never existed, and many of them are actually police saying that they never even did the training exercise. But this is for sure. You heard that over the broadcast system, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. They did run a drill at the start at the Athletes Village, yes.
Now, do you think, based on what you saw, that they had to have some type of knowledge that there was a bomb threat or something like that? What do you think about the police commissioner who said that they had no prior intelligence whatsoever, and now some of them are denying that there was any type of drill?
I find it hard to comment on that. We don't know who was involved in these activities. My main thought right now is with the families and the victims. That's my main thing. I'm praying for them. But, I was there at the Athletes Village. I did see a drill going on and did hear the announcements that it was just a drill. Whether or not there was any prior knowledge, I couldn't comment on that. I couldn't tell you. The commission said there was no knowledge. There was no knowledge.
No, I understand.
But there was absolutely a drill going on at the Athletes Village before the race.
Exactly, and let's just make that clear. We're trying to get the facts here of what's actually going on and displaying what's happening and what you saw with your own eyes as an eyewitness, the first-hand account of what's going on. Because yesterday, your article from the Alabama Press and one that I covered on my website, StoryLeak, it's been seen by millions of people around the world, and others like InfoWars are picking up and stuff like that, playing on the radio. So your first-hand account is at the heart of all of this right now, trying to get an idea of what's going on. So it's important that we discuss that and what's going on. All right, great. Well, I appreciate you speaking with me today. I think that about sums it up. Is there anything else?
And I'll end it there, ladies and gentlemen, because there's only a little bit left. I think there's about 10, 15 seconds left of it. There's not much, but I'll end it there because the top of the hour break is coming up. We're back in short, quick moment. Do not go anywhere.
This is Sparta!
I will get into where I think this is going when we come back. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with our number dose here on tonight's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. It is April 17th, 2013. I am your host, Popeye, from federaljack.com. You should check my website out. It is a fountain of knowledge, we'll say. There's a ton of archived articles on there. There's a huge download section, which includes videos, ebooks, and audio. So it's all free. Go rip it while it's still there, and we have free internet, and I can afford to still have it up there for you. Remember, nothing is ever forever and ever, so make sure you go out and you archive this stuff, ladies and gentlemen. It is important. We do offer a service where we archive. We have everything I've ever downloaded ever since 2006 archived. Anything I've ever gathered, acquired, whatever you want to call it, information. And I do have a service where I go and pick, because it's a 4 terabyte hard drive I have to load it onto. It's so huge that I go pick up a 4 terabyte hard drive and I load up. It takes me about a day and a half to load all the info on it. And after that's all said and done, then I package it and I send it out. And the cost is really only the hard drive and that, and shipping. What I try to do is because like I was using 3 terabyte drives, but for the same price now I can get the same quality 4 terabyte ones. So I just give the 4 terabyters, and it allows me to give every little piece of info I have available, which, believe it or not, is a couple terabytes of info. So we do offer that service, but if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. I don't care. It's up on the website. You can see under the store. It's the only thing that's there. It's just 4 terabyte hard drive. But honestly, you can go to YouTube, Google YouTube Downloader. It's a free program. And just go start ripping whatever's out there now. Seriously. I suggest you do it, because you never know. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but you know what? It's better to be safe than sorry. Go out and purchase a hard drive. If you go to Costco or something, you can get a couple terabyte hard drive and just load that puppy up. Make different folders. Besides, you'd be surprised. People put tutorials on YouTube all the time on how to do stuff. You could download that, teach yourself new things. Just look up YouTube Downloader. There's a couple other ones too. But, archive this stuff. Rip it. Rip whatever's on the net. And in the download section, you can rip whatever's there over at Federal Jack. So go check it out. I rarely ever plug the site. I always forget. And my archives are there too, by the way. I will be, there's an archive page, and then on the archive page there's a downloadable, there's a link to a downloadable section for all of my older broadcasts before I was on Unbound. Of course, anything on Unbound is available over on unboundradio.com. You can go over there. Get the free low quality, or subscribe and get the high quality. I urge you to subscribe, because then you get access to all the high quality archives and whatever. But all my older stuff is over in 128K on Federal Jack, free for download. Just go to the download section and you'll see a widget for it, or you can go to the archive page and there's a huge hyperlink. You can't miss it. It's right there. And also, the broadcasts are also on YouTube, and I have some posted on for listening right off of the server itself. If you just go to the archive page on Federal Jack, you'll see them listed, oldest to newest. Check them out. All right, we'll be back in a few minutes, and when we get back, we'll have a nice long segment, and I can get into where I see this going. We'll be back. Stay tuned. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Nice long segment for me to get into here, what I want to get into and cover this, and I can be a little bit long-winded, as the listeners know, so it is what it is. Anyway, what do I see coming from this? Well, I hope I'm wrong. But I see the propagandists, the mind control experts, the mainstream media, I see them setting the tone for a lone wolf type scenario. Why do I say that? Because you see articles coming out here and there, and there's a haze of stuff, or a flurry, I should say, of stuff coming out, which causes this hazy fog of, I don't want to say fog of war, because that's kind of the wrong terminology. It keeps everybody's brain in a daze. It's this fog of too much information, right? Too much stuff. They got the shock going on if they're local. Even if they're not local, they're shocked by it. And then they have all this, the appeal to emotion, and then all this information coming across. And I see the groundwork being laid, the seeds being planted for the lone wolf. Now, you see articles on like Fox News and CNN popping up. Experts say lone wolf scenario likely. Bombs fit lone wolf style. Things to that extent. And you see the far left demonizing the Tea Party, the Patriot movement, Now, of course, they're going to, like Matthews and all them, they're going to jump to conclusions. And I have seen some criticism of them, but not much. Okay? But most of the media, the mainstream, lamestream, shamestream, whatever you want, a little ad hominem nickname you want to give them, right? Most of them are putting out there that it could be it could be a right-winger, a gun enthusiast, right? Well, this is what I see. And especially with articles like Salon putting out articles saying things like, let's hope the Boston Marathon bomber is a white American. I mean, why would you even say that? Oh, well, I was referencing this or that. No. To me, that's putting it out there. If you understand how they work and they put subliminals in your head, it's like they're prepping the field, as it were. And you see other articles, too. You see things like Jay Moore, this actor, if that's what you want to call the guy, failed comedian, failed actor, now a mouthpiece for ESPN, does sports, I guess, a couple nights a week or whatever. And he tweeted out, and this was the 15th, he tweets, "What bothers me most about today is that we're getting used to it. Enough. Second Amendment must go. Violence has to stop. Culture must change." I don't recall the Second Amendment being involved in this. I don't recall people picking up guns and running around and shooting people. I recall bombs going off, if that's... Even the mainstream story says that. So then I guess he got bombarded by people telling him he was a moron. Although people, at least at the time that the screen capture was grabbed, there's 247 retweets of it. So, and people, 128 people favorited it. So there's at least, with him, 129 morons that think like him. Here's a second one. The Second Amendment lends itself to the culture of violence we are living in. Stop blowing up my timeline with your gun porn fetishes. So I guess people responded to him and he was pissed off. So you can see they're laying the groundwork for the Second Amendment. You have people like this guy, and you could say that's his own little, that's his own opinion, but there's other people that are blaming the Second Amendment too. So I don't look at it like it's mere coincidence. I'm not saying he's part of some vast conspiracy. He probably actually believes that garbage that's coming out of his mouth. But somebody, he had to buy somebody's crap and drink the Kool-Aid somewhere to believe that. So anyway, controlled message. So he's out there blah, 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 saying that the Second Amendment is to blame for the bomb, right? And other people are starting to allude to it as well, the mainstream media, which is all garbage. You have Salon saying, Boston Marathon bomber, let's hope it's a white American. You have MSNBC, it's probably a Tea Party guy. Even it came out from the Obama administration. Well, there could be a connection. It is tax day. Yeah, because a protester who's pissed off at the government is going to blow up innocent people. Think about the retardation of that for a moment. Well, that's what they do because they're extremists. They don't do anything that makes sense. No, you don't do anything that makes sense, and you certainly don't do anything that even resembles critical thinking in any way, shape, or form. There's no resemblance at all to any sort of critical thinking with that statement. At all. None. Unacceptable. People need to pay attention. Come on. Why would anybody want to... I'm pissed at the government for screwing me and all these other innocent people, so I'm going to blow up the innocent people. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. Why would somebody do that, right? No, doesn't make any sense. But that's what the bombers, these suicide killers, they never make any sense. They're terrorists, Popeye. Okay. Right. Keep drinking the Kool-Aid. People do things for a reason. They and yeah, sometimes there is quote unquote. It seems like senseless, but there is a motivation behind people. Whether it makes sense to you or not, there is a motivation. So anyway, I see the groundwork being laid for the right wing gun enthusiast, whatever, plus the bomb itself. Aside from the media, and not the fact that it's supposedly a pressure cooker bomb, I see the smoke. It looked like it looked like black powder, to be quite honest with you. And Joe and I talked about this yesterday. It could have been tannerite, which is legal. It's not illegal, and it's used to make exploding targets. FPS Russia used it in the videos that he made. I don't know if he's still making videos anymore, but when he was making videos, they would use it for exploding targets, and it is used for exploding targets. It could have been tannerite used, but with the white smoke that came out, I mean, it could have been black powder too, but with the white smoke that came out the way it did, the way it looked, I'm willing to bet that somehow they're going to say that and I hope I'm wrong. I hope my analysis on this one is wrong. I really do. I hope I can come on air on Friday and tell you I'm wrong, because by Friday night, by the time I come on air, we'll know if I'm right or not. You'll see why when I get to it. But I foresee them blaming like a I don't want to say right wing, but I guess they'll label it right wing extremist / Second Amendment supporter / liberty lover / whatever you want to ad hominem you want to throw in there. They'll probably say the guy listens to independent radio like Unbound here and goes to websites like the IntelliHub or FederalJack.com, or I'm sure they're not going to say those names exactly, but they'll say he goes to conspiracy websites, and I'm sure they'll throw the litany out there. Maybe they'll even say he's an InfoWars listener. They've been known to do that. Who knows? But he's going to definitely. I see them blaming somebody. I see them it being a lone gunman, at least in their eyes, a lone whatever, a lone bomber, a lone nut, and I see them trying to pin it on a liberty-oriented Second Amendment individual. So that they can wrap it all up. They can go after reloaders because of the black powder that they'll say that was used, and if there was ball bearings, they'll say, well, that stuff you could easily get at a gun show. We need to go back and revisit more gun control laws, and then Obama comes out today, and you have this whole thing going on, and he's attacking the fact that the Senate didn't pass the universal background checks, and Joe Biden was practically crying like a little girl. I mean, you should see the pictures. It's ridiculous. It really is. Well, first of all, a bunch of sore losers. Second of all, if you're acting, horrible acting, Joe. Okay? Horrific acting. And if you're not acting, you really need to control yourself. You're the vice president. Okay? If not, we'll definitely find somebody that could do a better job. So I see them setting this whole framework up, throwing the ideas out there. So that way, in 2 days, I foresee them raiding somebody, and they're going to find the guy, and they'll blame this will be the MO. He'll be a right winger, gun nut, liberty lover, blah 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 blah, and this is why blah 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 blah. And we're going to have to raid people, and we have to shut the internet down. And oh, look, convenient, we have CISPA waiting to be voted on. And you think I'm crazy? Maybe them pushing we need to shut the internet down thing. I mean, that's what CISPA is. That's the internet kill switch, by the way, just in case anybody doesn't know that. Okay, CISPA is the internet kill switch, and they're trying to blame these attacks on banking systems and all this other stuff and the different viruses and stuff. It's crap. People need to call their congressmen and their senators and flip out. But they might not go as far as to try to tie CISPA into it. But okay, I will say this. I foresee them raiding somebody, whatever, on Friday, and I foresee them sometime Friday, or maybe early morning, mid-afternoon, whatever, and by late afternoon it'll be all over the headlines. By that night, it'll be, because they have to coincide it with the news cycle, and it'll be done on Friday because it's April 19th. It's the anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing and of Waco, and it'll be their little sick way of, look, we did something good on this horrific day. In the past, bad things have happened, and now we got him. We've got the bomber. And when you hear them say, oh, we've got a suspect in custody already, and then they don't have a suspect in custody, makes one wonder if they did catch somebody and they've got their little patsy and they're just holding on to him until Friday, where they're going to stage some sort of raid or something. Look, honestly, I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I hope I can come on air Friday and say, I'm glad I'm wrong. They didn't pull this off. They didn't try to, have this anniversary, raid and play it off and everything else. I hope I am wrong. You'll probably never hear radio show hosts say that on air, but I hope I'm wrong, and I hope on Friday it does not happen. Okay? But from what I see, I just see them building it up. And when this first happened, I was like, I wonder if they're going to catch somebody fast. When they didn't, I said, why aren't they catching somebody fast? It doesn't make sense. Usually in their little false flag events, they have somebody. Even if it was real, they would have some sort of leads by now. Okay? Just doesn't make any sense. Well, no information coming out, what's the deal? I mean, if they're that inept and and we've wasted this much money on the system so far, obviously this just goes to show you that they suck and that they're wasting money, right? So something's going on. So what could be going on? Well, then you look to the end of the week and you see what day it is. And then when you see them laying the groundwork with the news media and these stories and these people coming out supposedly, I'm an actor, I'm Jay Moore, whoever, they're blaming the Second Amendment. People are already pissed off at the Second Amendment. There's that amping up of the emotion. So perhaps people like Jay Moore legitimately do believe that, and they come out and do that because, hey, they buy into the appeal to emotion, right? And they feel so bad, and they're from up there and everything else. And look, being upset about what happened is legitimate. I'm not happy about what happened. Innocent people being hurt and killed, it's not cool. Okay, but you can't blame the Second Amendment for that. The Second Amendment had nothing to do with it. That's an invalid argument. But I see them laying this groundwork. So we'll see. I hope I'm wrong on Friday. I pray and hope that I'm wrong and that I can come on air Friday night and tell you, hey, look, you know what? It's the anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing in Waco, and you know what? No, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. They didn't raid anybody. I was wrong. And I will say, thank the Lord, thank the universe, thank whoever you'd like to insert name there, that to cover everybody who listens. That way I don't get angry emails. You didn't say thank this person or whatever. Thank the universe, okay? Thank everything that it didn't happen. I'll dance the Irish jig. But I have this feeling that that's what's going to go down. And then it'll just be used. They're going to have TSA. And remember, they can jerk everybody's chain by dragging it out. They can scare the crap out of you. And now people, I'm sure, will be willing to let TSA grope them when they go to the mall. Hey, you're going to a sporting event? We're going to have the naked body scanners and the x-ray machines and TSA on the street. You don't mind, right? It's for your safety. And then we're going to drive up and use the trucks and x-ray you up and down. You don't mind, right? It's for your safety. Even though there were bomb-sniffing dogs and then bombs went off. So I guess their little police state doesn't work, right? We're going to break. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. What I said last segment is not in any way, shape, or form a prediction. As I said, I hope I'm wrong. But that's just what I see being framed up right now. The events of tomorrow could actually change that, so we shall see. But I hope I'm wrong. I really do. It's not in any way, shape, or form really a prediction. It's just what I see coming down the pike. I hope my analysis is wrong, or I hope something maybe happens that causes it to change or whatever, and that isn't the outcome. But you can just see it's like, well, the Second Amendment is to blame because people could reload guns, and this never would have happened. Right. Never would have happened. Sure. Never would have happened. Bomb sniffing dogs didn't sniff any of the bombs, though. Right? Never would have happened. Right? Guys dressed up, whether they're mercs or special ops, which, like I said, I don't know. They could be special ops. I mean, they could be. I really don't think they would use SEALs to pull off a special op like that. This doesn't make any sense. I mean, it would make sense if they were doing a drill and it happened. And it was one of these drills that went live, which would not surprise me. I mean, again, this is like their MO, right? So drills going live, maybe they were SEALs, maybe. More likely, if they were actors in the sense of not people, when you say actors, by the way, at least when I say it in the sense that I'm talking about it right now, I'm not talking about an actor like you'd see in Hollywood, although it's kind of why they use the same terminology, but I mean, they call war theater, right? But actors, it's a military / intelligence term. It's something that you would use to refer to people in a situation. So, such as this. Anyway, like during an op. So these guys, these actors, whoever they were, these guys in their khakis, I don't know if they were SEALs. To me, maybe more like mercs, mercenaries. What Blackwater, Z, Academy, Triple, whatever the frick it's called now. There's companies like Triple Canopy, all these companies. Now, I'm not saying it's any of those companies because you don't know. It could have been some Dr. Pujo brought up a good point. It could have been, somebody had said something about Chris Kyle and, what about his old company? Well, maybe that was the reason why he got whacked a couple months back. Maybe he knew something about this and he was against it and he had said no, or he had put his foot down and said, if it happens, I'll come out or whatever. Who knows? Maybe he wouldn't have put up with it. Maybe he wasn't going along with the plan. Maybe he did know something about it, and they said, you got to go. I'm not saying it's connected at all, but if his group was connected to it, then that would be a question. So, if you could legitimately somehow put his group even on the ground, his, whatever contractors, whatever you want to call them, if you could put something that he was connected to like that on the ground, then I would look in that direction. But for right now, that's kind of like speculating upon speculating. I really don't think it was SEALs. Mercs could be ex-SEALs, ex-whatever, Rangers, Marines, whatever. Any type of ex-special operative could become even regular, infantry, whatever. You could get a job as a merc. So you don't know. I don't want to jump on the bandwagon and say they're SEALs. Look, it is shady. Obviously, something's up. So whoever they are, it should be looked into further, because those pictures, and credit to whoever found those shots and combed through everything and was able to start putting piece everything together. You guys and ladies, whoever worked diligently and did that, you guys are amazing. That's how this stuff is going to get beaten, by people doing that. Because if we wait for them to come out with the truth, good luck with that. I'm actually surprised the cameras were recording. To be quite honest with you, I'm surprised the cameras are recording. And that's why I say, if they were really special ops guys pulling off some sort of black op, like if they were Delta or something, they wouldn't allow themselves to be on those cameras. Those guys, like Delta operators, those guys are slick. They would have gone down there. This is an operation that would have been planned ahead of time, so they would have known where the regular camera layout was going to be, and then they would have known where the emergency cameras would be put up for that particular event. The portable ones, and then they would have had easily gotten access to the layout and the plans and everything. So come on, why would they allow themselves to be seen on TV? So either it's an event where it's a drill gone live, and these guys are caught off guard. But again, maybe that's why they're getting caught on camera, because they're caught off guard in that moment. They're just in the chaos. Or maybe they're mercs, and they're not as well trained as the guys in Delta and some of these other agencies. You got to look at these different things. You got to understand how black operatives work and stuff too. So you never know. Just saying, I'm putting it out there. Outside the box thinking, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we will be right back. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be getting into the weirdness surrounding this even more with Stephanie Sledge next week. Again, I've refrained from jumping on some of the weirder stuff, except and the different things, attacking it. Yes, I know this was done and this was done. I'm just trying to point out what I see as red flags, and with my level of expertise, things I know, at least bring things to the table for people to take a look at. But next week, on the 24th, next week, Wednesday, Stephanie Sledge, who has been a guest on my broadcast before, at least twice, she's going to be coming back on again, and we're going to be going over all of the craziness. If you haven't heard my broadcast with her, you can go check out. If you go to federaljack.com and just put her name in up in the search bar, just type out Stephanie, STEPHANIE, space Sledge, SLEDGE, and it'll come up. Her 2 articles should come up. You'll see a picture. It should say Apple Zebra 11. Go listen to both of my past interviews with her. She's a very, very intelligent lady, and she has her finger on the button when it comes to understanding what's going on behind the scenes. So, Apple Zebra 11 is a look into the shooting of Gabrielle Giffords and Jared Lee Loughner and everything. So that's what she talked about the last 2 times. It's huge investigation she did. Very well done. You can actually get the PDF over at her site. Just make sure you pay attention Wednesday, the 24th. She's going to be coming on for 2 hours. I'm going to be picking her brain about what's going on and the weirdness surrounding the whole Boston bombing. I mean, there really is a lot of weirdness, and I want to get someone else's take who knows and has somewhat of an understanding on a level that not many people do. I'll say that way. She understands things. You have to understand the whole bigger picture to understand why they would do something or how they would pull it off, because a lot of times it involves multiple different things that ends up branching out. Anyway, if you check out my broadcast with her, you'll understand. She's a very intelligent lady, and she's coming on next Wednesday, so we're going to be diving into the shadier aspects of it. But I want to bring up something else, again, another talking point. Another example of someone pushing the talking point that it was, patriots, and it's one of the Second Amendment's most hated opponents, I guess you could say. Michael Moore, Mr. Bowling for Columbine, did a crappy job with the 9/11 movie. Although, it did, I guess, maybe kind of wake some people up to the extent that they should kind of look at 9/11 again. But he dropped the ball. He's whatever. We all know what Michael Moore is. Anyway, he came out and he tweeted on the 15th too. 2 + 2 equals, and then he followed it with Tax Day, Patriots Day. So you build up the suspense. 2 + 2 equals, and then he leaves it, and then later on he tweets. About 45 minutes later, he tweets, Tax Day, period, Patriots Day, period. So, patriots are going to kill innocent people on Patriots Day. Yes, that makes a lot of sense, Michael. That makes a lot of sense. And I'm sure we should ban guns. And I'm sure if guns were not around, then this would never have happened. I'm waiting to hear that argument. I'm really waiting to hear somebody come out and say, well, if guns weren't around, this wouldn't have happened. No. If our tyrannical government weren't around and these intelligence agencies weren't around, like Mossad and CIA and others, then things like this wouldn't happen. But they do. So anyway, I digress. Now, why would they pull this off? Oh, Popeye, if it's a false flag, what would they gain from it? I've gotten that question from about, I don't know. I stopped counting the emails after 20, but not only emails, but I got messages and everything, because I put out the 2 videos I talked about the other day, and between the emails and the comments and the Facebook comments and the tweets, there are people, not that they're asleep, but they ask legitimately, how would they benefit from this, right? Come on, how would they benefit, Popeye? How is this a false flag? They haven't blamed anybody yet. Well, that's the thing. Like I said, we'll see by Friday who they're going to blame, because it is, after all, again, the anniversary. So what better of a day to pull that crap off? But how they benefit is not only do they keep you in fear all week, right? Monday through Friday, they've got you captive audience. Just fear 24/7, right? But you're not paying attention to what's going on. Now, that bill for universal background checks could have easily passed today. It didn't. The Senate voted it down, very narrowly, I may add. But it was an amendment to the bill. Didn't pass. But that's not to say that they're not going to try to do other stuff. That's the way these people are. And there is other things on the floor that have to get voted, other amendments that they're going to try to add, including Feinstein's assault weapons ban, because I don't think it's been totally shot down yet. I know people are saying, well, it's not going to get the votes. That's good. I'll believe it when I see it not get passed, and it's official that it's not passed. Until then, I don't believe anything. Okay? So they're trying to block people from paying attention to that. Don't you think it's a bit convenient that this happens on Monday of the very week that all of these things are going on in Congress? CISPA. Don't you find it a little odd, right? Just a little bit? No? I do. I find it just a tad bit odd that the very week that this stuff is going on, a terror attack happens. And it doesn't matter who they blame. It does matter who they blame, but for intents and purposes of covering up what they're doing legislative-wise, it doesn't matter who they blame. They could blame the Smurfs and Gargamel for all they care. Okay? Seriously. It does not matter. As long as you're stoked up. In fact, it's better if you don't know, because then it allows them to play with your head all week. They've already paid, if they pulled this off, right? This is a false flag. They've already decided the outcome long before they ever even pulled off the first bomb. It's already decided. So they know what they're doing. They're playing with the general public's mind. That's another reason why I see them doing this on Friday. Because it ends the week. Starts it off on a Monday, caps it off on a Friday, allows people to digest it over the weekend. They love the president. They love the government. I'm telling you. And who knows, maybe it won't go like that, but that's the way I see it. And I can see they're playing with people's heads all week. And it allows them, while people are, all the fear is being stoked, and they're, oh my God, there could be a bomb in my closet. Because they tell you, I love how you haven't heard anybody come out. Has anybody come out and said people should be calm? Has the president addressed anybody and come out and sat down for 20 or 30 minutes? No, he sat down for like 3 or 4 minutes. But has he sat down for 20 or 30 and said, look, people need to chill? Has he gone on air, like some radio show hosts have, myself included, and tried to, go over things calmly and not freak out? No. He hasn't tried to cover anything, tried to calm the nation down. Have you heard any politicians coming out and telling you to, anything, calm down? No. What did you hear from the locals? Well, that right afterwards, oh my God, there could be bombs in garbage cans, run. And I'm not saying that there weren't people that weren't legitimately worried about other people's welfare, but there's a way not to stoke fear and, yell fire in a crowded theater. So why are they stoking fear? Well, because it helps confuse people, keeps you off guard. And I'm not saying the lower level people know what they're doing. They get caught up in it. They're on the same vibe. So they're running off the fear vibe and pushing that fear vibe. You don't get mad at them. You get mad at the people who are actually playing the game of chess, not the pieces on the chessboard. And each person should be held accountable for their own individual actions, yes. But one must not take their eye off the true person that's running things. Not, again, getting pissed off at the, if you focus on the minutia too much, you don't realize what's going on. Sometimes you have to take a step back. It's good to understand the minutia so you know everything. You have the details and you have the background, but you have to understand what they're doing. And then they can jerk everybody's chain. They can sit and screw with people, right? They can sit and say, oh my God, it could be right-wingers. It could be Al-Qaeda. And I've heard Al-Qaeda mentioned, and I've heard right-wingers. And they say, well, if it's a peroxide bomb or something like that, then it's probably Al-Qaeda. But if it's something else, and it's probably it's more than likely a homegrown terrorist. And then people keep throwing out that term, homegrown terrorist. And a month ago, I seem to remember ripping into Mark Potok and the crew over at MSNBC, Lawrence O'Donnell, and there was another episode where I ripped into Ed Schultz over there. And, Mark Potok, the SPLC and MSNBC, they kept saying during this time period, it was around the middle of the end of March. One of them is already up in my old archives. The other one I haven't rendered yet and put up, but one of them, the one where I went off on Lawrence O'Donnell and Mark Potok, is up in the archives. You can find it, go look, and listen to it if you haven't heard it yet. And you'll hear them actually say, you never know, next month is we have to be on the lookout. Next month is the anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing and of Waco, and, we got to be careful. One must be careful because something could happen. Really? Well, I mean, I could say that someone could, one must be careful. You might get hit by a bus tomorrow, and you'd get hit by, somebody could get hit by a bus, within a few days, and somebody could say, oh, that's kind of coincidence. Okay, whatever. I mean, but what are the chances that this guy says, he goes on air and says, well, you never know, these patriot groups, blah, 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 and then a month later, something happens. And I'm telling you, the groundwork's being laid. I just see it. I hope I'm wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope I can come on Friday night and say, I'm wrong. Thank God I'm wrong. But you never know. It might be late Friday night into Saturday morning, 4:20, where they bust the guy. So, and it could happen. It could happen over the weekend, but honestly, I see it happening on the 19th. I see it happening on Friday, and the guy being a freedom-loving gun enthusiast who preps and listens to the independent media and peruses independent media websites and radio stations and blah, 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 blah. You watch, and he'll probably be Christian and anti-abortion and they'll throw whatever else that they want to get in there. I mean, they have a checklist, right, of things that they want to do and things that they want to pass and agendas that they want to push. So because it's overall really part of one really big large agenda, but these side little ones that help push this thing, they have a checklist, and they're just going down the checklist and like, well, we can add this, we can add this, we can add this, we can add this, and the mainstream media will lap it up, and people will be pissed, right? As evidenced by what happened today. And there's a lot of psyopage going on, too. What happened today, ladies and gentlemen? Supposedly, they had a suspect at the courthouse, and a bunch of people mobbed the courthouse trying to, find out what's going on. Why would people mob the courthouse? Oh, I don't think that was faked. I think that was people's emotions. They're being stoked and twisted. It's like a nerve. Picture if you could visualize a nerve, what a nerve looks like. The term worked nerve, that's what people in Boston right now are like, because they're on edge. And then it's fear, fear, fear. You don't know who did it. You don't know who did it. He could be in the garbage can. He could be hiding in the mailbox. He could be the guy behind you. He could be the guy in front of you. It could be your neighbor. Who is it? White guy, Al-Qaeda. Who? Tea Party? Must be the right-wingers. It's them damn gun owners. The NRA is to blame. It's the guns' fault. I'm just saying, I see them laying the groundwork, and then you see them, it's more than likely the act of a lone wolf terrorist. Right, because a lone wolf terrorist could get bombs planted inside of a zone where there's cameras all over the place, video cameras and still cameras going off and stuff. There's video cameras all over the place. And yet, nobody's got any pictures of that bomb being planted, any video of it being planted. Yet, anyway, we shall see. Maybe the guys in the pictures are their patsies. Who knows? Who knows? Could be a drill. It's probably a drill gone live, and then they have their selected patsy who they're gonna blame it on. I'm telling you, I foresee, and I hope I'm wrong. This isn't a prediction, but I hope I'm wrong. But I just foresee it coming down the pike that way. I hope I can come on Friday night and tell you I was wrong, ladies and gentlemen. I would be glad to tell you I was wrong. I know you won't hear that often, but let's hope I'm wrong and nothing happens like I said on Friday. All right, we'll be right back. Final segment coming up. Don't go anywhere. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. A final segment. And I forgot, by the way, when I was talking about Stephanie Sledge before, I realized it during the break. It just popped into my head. I didn't even throw out her website, but her website's called The Government Rag, thegovernmentrag.com. That's where you can go check out April Zebra 11. And I totally spaced it. I don't know why I didn't tell you that before, but okay, so go check it out. Anyway, make sure you follow Unbound on Twitter. Make sure you follow Unbound on Facebook. You can find us on Facebook. Just look up Unbound Radio. On Twitter, it's Unbound Radio Net, and you'll find us. Follow, like, whatever button you have to press, and you can hear all the archives over all my archives for DTRH Down the Rabbit Hole. Since I've been on Unbound over at Unbound, I will eventually get them up, some of the stuff up on YouTube and stuff. I just have been slammed, ladies and gentlemen, and have not had the chance. I've been doing a lot of stuff for the broadcast here, for Federal Jack, and behind the scenes to help out at Unbound Radio as much as I can so we can get this thing off the ground and going and reach as many people with the truth as possible. And I want to give a big thank you and a big shout out to all the listeners, because if it weren't for you, then this wouldn't be possible, ladies and gentlemen. If you weren't tuning in, I'd be talking to the brick wall. So it would be kind of useless if I was talking to the brick wall, right? So you guys are an essential large part of the broadcast, and I will be opening up phone lines and stuff in future broadcasts. I just didn't tonight because I had a ton of things I wanted to go over. If I have time, maybe tomorrow, I will. I'll see. I have to check the schedule and see what's going on. But if I have time, maybe tomorrow I'll do open phone lines for a while and get your take on what's going on with Boston and see how you feel. But not tonight. So sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. But I will be. I will be. And remember, you can always partake in the conversation over at federaljack.com. I have a listen live page. If you go right to the front, federaljack.com, right in the upper right, there's a widget that says listen live page. Click it, and it'll bring you to the listen live page. You can either, when you go there, you can listen either via Unbound Radio, right underneath where it says on air, there's a link that says Unbound Radio. It'll take you right to Unbound site. You can listen to the TuneIn stream, or underneath that, you'll see a picture that says Listen Live with a set of headphones and a mic. And if you click that, that'll open up the fancy, super fancy Unbound Radio Flash Player in a pop-up window. And then you can go and explore and do whatever else and go on Facebook or whatever and listen, and you're not glued to the page. So you can stay there because there's also a chat room to talk to some of the other listeners. From once in a while I go and check it, but not often. But you can interact with some of the listeners there. There's 1, 2, 3 different links to listen, including the pop-up player. So, yes, I had to count them because I couldn't remember off the top of my head, so I had to go actually look and count. But there are 3, and eventually I'm going to put if we do like a real player stream or a specific one for Windows Media or anything like that, if there's any streams added, as anything gets added, any more listening options gets added, I will put it up there on the Listen Live page, so go check it out. In the last couple minutes before we end the broadcast for this evening, I want to end it again on a bit of a positive note. I know right now the mainstream media is pumping out fear, because that's their favorite thing to do, is pump out fear, right? Their favorite thing to do in the world is to scare the crap out of people. So I'm going to give you the anti-fear antidote that I call it. That's what I like to call it. The anti-fear antidote. Now, what is that? Well, the anti-fear antidote is something that I like to recite on air called the Litany Against Fear. It's actually from Frank Herbert's Dune. But if you recite it out loud and you put a little energy and effort into actually believing what you're saying and what you're hearing being spoken and coming out of your mouth and what you are speaking and allowing to come out of your mouth, it will help you. And I've recited it on air multiple times for people before, so here we go again. In the last few minutes, I'm going to recite the Litany Against Fear for you again. Here we go. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. Don't buy into the fear porn. They want to control and confuse you, ladies and gentlemen. Bombard Congress about CISPA and about all this gun control legislation and all this other tyrannical garbage that they're trying to pass. Now! CISPA is the internet kill switch. It is. It's the internet kill switch that we've talked about before.
This is Sparta!
Don't allow the fear to confuse and blind you, ladies and gentlemen. Be smarter than them. With that, we're out of time. The autodidacts, ladies and gentlemen. And remember, the solutions to our problems are truly an inside job. I love you all. I'm out of here.